be talking about how to increase your phone skill. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to like and subscribe. I typically share tips and content around marketing, sales, and strategy to help businesses and people that are building an agency get better results for them and their clients, right? Now, why is sales such a major topic? Well, a marketing agency, any business for that matter, relies heavily on sales to be in business, right? And the formatting for most agencies is typically in the beginning and consistently is a lot of outbound, right? Meaning that either you're going to be calling businesses, emailing businesses, running ads, DMing businesses, maybe even sending out mail in different avenues, different methods that you're using for your marketing strategy to get businesses to inquire for your services, and it can raise your hand and obviously you can get some clients, right? Ultimately, the same thing applies for a lot of businesses that are running ads. Yes, they may have some word of mouth traction, but at the end of the day, if they're running an ad, they're looking for people in their market to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in your product or service. Then from there, here's what begins: sales. The aspect of communicating effectively with someone to make sure that they can make an effective decision for your product or service. Now, this can vary depending on the sales cycle and what you're offering your potential customer. The sales cycle can be very short and narrow, or it could be extended, right? There are some industries where it could be extended. If you're on the local service side, maybe it's contracting, maybe it's roofing, maybe it's solar, right? Fencing, where it could cost several thousands of dollars. A person may need to get everything situated. They might want to save up for it. Maybe they want to pay cash. Maybe they want to finance. There's a few other obstacles, right? If you're on the B2B side, depending on the businesses you're working with, what if they're already working with a marketing company, right? And so oftentimes what people may say, they make 5 or 10 phone calls in a day and nothing comes out of it. Well, the real strategy in making those calls is not just in the initial call before we go into the video, it's in the follow-up, right? What are you sending that business, whether it be weekly, monthly, right? To make sure that they know of your agency, of your business, or is it that's one-time phone call? Here's a story. I remember when I used to work for my previous company, I used to always say to the owner, we need a marketing system, because as good as, I was on the phone, I felt like I could have been a lot better had we had additional marketing material going out, whether it be email marketing campaigns, right? Or sometimes running paid ads, right? Maybe finding ways to communicate to get people to come to us rather than always going to other people, right? So ultimately, this comes from a combination of marketing and sales. Now, we're going to be focusing on today the sales aspect of it. And more specifically is, how do you get more sales from your target audience, right? This is why cold calling is such a really good skill to have, because I have seen where people think that making an outbound call can be hard. Well, could you imagine taking an inbound call and not knowing what you're doing? That can be even harder, or just as hard, in my opinion, because ultimately it's not about the call, right? Let me change that. Ultimately, it is about the call. It's about how you handle that call. And there's something that I discussed in the past called phone call mismanagement, right? And when you get an inbound call, what is your process? Just like when you get an outbound call, what is your process? So for example, let's say you're a business and you're running campaigns on the internet and people fill out forms to get in contact with your company. You get maybe 5 or 6 forms a day, and you do what you are going to do, which is call them, right? You call them, and what is your script when you call them? Let's say you don't get them on the phone, you leave a message. What is your script, right? Let's say you get them on the phone. What is your script? And so essentially those are 3 different scripts, right? This is something that when I first started getting into sales, I tell you guys a story, 2015, and I was in sales previously, but this is when I really got serious with sales, pursuing my passion and working with businesses in sales. I discovered that all of those different processes were different scripts, right? And these are something that we share with our clients too, because our clients, especially those that are not dialed in with sales, they still have these issues, right? Where they get a lead and they can't get the lead right on the phone, so they think the person, I guess, doesn't exist anymore, right? And they don't know how to communicate, to engage with them. Essentially what they do is they go from basically top funnel to bottom funnel, and they assume everybody that's contacting them is ready to, bottom funnel is basically people that are ready to transact. They're ready to pay you right away. And that's a mismanagement of leads. Essentially what you want to do is you want to start at the top. You want to assume that the person is simply inquiring about information and take the sales call more consultative approach, right? And this is essentially when people are contacting your office, right? Or contacting your business. You take a back step. It's called the consultative sale, consultative approach. That way you're not forceful with them on the phone where you put a lot of pressure and then they feel like this is just a sale. The second aspect of it is when you're making the outbound phone call, okay? The same rule applies, right? You making outbound phone calls, I'm sure many of you have gotten phone calls where you can just feel that the other person on the other line of the phone was really aggressive and they basically were going to or had the passion to force you to listen to them no matter what you said. Maybe you weren't interested, maybe it's just not the right time, and they were going to force you to listen to them. Not necessarily what they said, but how they said it. I'm sure you've had a few phone calls. If you're a business owner that, gets a lot of solicitation calls, you've definitely had it a few times. And it's one of those things where, I often teach people, number one, breathe, right? Calm down and take on the calls as they progress, right? Where, yes, in a cold call, you may have to have some more tenacity to yourself where you are willing to ask someone questions and maybe push the needle a little bit. And then there's obviously the point where, the person is genuinely not interested and you take that, kindly and you thank them for their time. And if you want to, you can probably figure out, this is why I teach, figuring out if they actually utilize your product or service, right? This is something that's really important to know because if that person doesn't know you, never heard about you, here's a cold call, the odds of them going from cold call to, making a decision is slim, right? Unless they really are looking for something, it is slim. But that doesn't mean over the next week or 2 weeks or 30 days or 6 months that they won't say, hey, you know what, I think I want to, give this a go now. So what you want to focus on is what I teach is getting contact information so you can do your follow-up. And so we build out these email marketing campaigns with their consent. Hey, is it okay if I send you some information? I'm sure you guys have heard me say that on calls, right? And so over time, we send our potential clients emails, and these emails add a lot of value. There's a series of emails we can send them based on their niche, based on their industry, and how we can help them, from testimonials to what happened today to a bunch of stuff. Think about this for your business. How many times does your business get a lead, right? Now, maybe you're on the contracting side, the local service side, what have you. How many times does your business get a lead? And the minute you get off the phone with the person, good or bad, they never go into your database, right? They're simply on your calendar, on your book, and they're just sitting there. And you're focused on that one appointment, that one interaction, that one encounter. You're not focused on the long term. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where most businesses basically throw all of the money and all the time and the resources that they're doing for advertising and marketing in the garbage. You want to be building a quality, solid list. I mean, think about it. If you just paid Google for that pay-per-click or Facebook for that Facebook lead or whatever medium you're using, the last thing you want to do is give that lead away. Just throw it in the garbage. And it, honestly, when I've heard these things from clients, it boggled, because I'm a salesperson, it boggles my mind. I'm like, are you kidding me? You want to put that lead in your database and, whether it's once a month, twice, depending on your service, of course, right? Especially if you're in a higher ticket service, people may not be pulling the trigger right away. You absolutely want to have that database, right? You want to have that email marketing campaign going. And in some cases, with their consent, you can also have an SMS. I wouldn't abuse an SMS, maybe once a month or so, depending on what you're offering, but you want to have those campaigns going. One of my dentists, I moved, but they don't know that yet, but where I used to live, I still get their text messages. Every month they have some type of new message they're sending out. I still get their text messages, okay? So you want to have that database. You want to be building what I call building your list, okay? Now, if you want to get my training on cold calling, right? It's designed for people that are in sales, right? I've tailored it to SMMA, but you can apply it to any of the industries that you're in. It also can work with people who are making outbound calls to leads, right? So if you're running ads on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube ads, and you have a boatload of leads that you have to contact every day, depending on your industry, you might only get 2 or 3 of them on the phone today. I want to teach you guys how I would work those leads and get developing a skill set, because I've been in those shoes where I'm in an office and I have the owner of the company, the manager of the company comes in, because I worked for mostly small businesses. They would come in and they would say, hey, here's the leads for today. And your mission was basically to find people on that list that you can communicate with and basically add to your database. So, prospecting, filling a pipeline. You typically have 2 containers. Prospecting is basically the ocean, right? Putting people in your mixture is going to basically be, like the pond or the lake. These are the people, out of all the people that have reached out, putting them in your list, getting them in the funnel, and then following up with them over time. You can't be everywhere. You can only make 1 call at a time. That's where email comes in. That's where creativity, right? Your business, being creative comes in. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you on the next video.